Hey everyone, it's Mike from Michelson Art. I hope everyone's having a great day today. And as usual, thank you guys so very much for taking the time out of your day to come check in here and hear me talk a little bit more about some of the art cards that I've been working on. I've got a really important card that I want to share with you guys today. And it's important because it is the final card from 2025 Series 3. I've been releasing them as fast as I can. I wish I could go quicker, but making the cards and making the videos for the cards and everything just takes a lot longer than I hope it would. So we're finally here, and this is the final card from Series 3. I made a video back then. It was late December, and for some reason I keep referring to this card in the video as the second to the last card, but I assure you this is the last card I worked on in the year 2025 in the Series 3 of my art cards. So I just want to take a minute to thank every one of you guys that reached out, commissioned a card, worked with me, talked with me. I can't express how much it means to me that you guys reach out, share your stories, share your ideas, and ultimately at the end of these, we end up with a super unique, super cool, baseball, basketball, football, whatever card we come up with, it exists only in your hands. So thank you guys. I cannot be, more thankful to you guys for, investing in me and trusting me to make these. So without further ado, I will stop talking and let's switch over to January of last year, or maybe late December, but let's see this card that ended Series 3 2025. Thanks, guys.
It actually features a player that I grew up watching. He wasn't a Hartford Whaler, but I saw him beat the Whalers quite often. And he is just a really cool player to get to work on. So why don't we just take a look at my brand new Mark Messier card. All right, guys, so here is a brand new custom Mark Messier card done in the style of a comic book cover. This one is not rooted in any sort of existing card design, so this one's super unique and super custom. It was a blast to work on, but there was a lot that went into making this card. So why don't we just dive right in and take a closer look. All right, guys, so here is my brand new 2025 Mark Messier card, done in the style of a comic book cover. Like I had mentioned, this one is not, rooted in any sort of existing design. I've always loved comic books, I've always loved sports, and I'm really happy that this customer gave me the opportunity to blend those two together. I've always wanted to kind of create a card like this. I'm personally a big fan of Daniel from the Popfly Pop Shop, and I really admire his work, and I definitely took a lot of inspiration from Daniel when I was making this, so thank you, sir. This was really great, and your work was definitely an inspiration to me. But like I said, I'd never done one of these. I've been a comic fan ever since I was a little kid, so I really knew that this card needed to be different, and it needed to be different because it needed to have a couple of different things on here. If you are a fan of comic books, every comic has to have a title. Every comic has this little area over here where it gives the pricing info, and there's also, usually various other things thrown in. I put Mark's name kind of up here in a different kind of fashion, and I threw this little comics code symbol down here because a lot of comics have that on there, and I wanted it to look as similar to a real comic book as I could. For the title, that's Mark's nickname. He's the Moose. That's how he played. He bulldozed through people like a moose, and I thought that was going to make a great title for this, fake comic book we were creating. So that was the first thing we needed to kind of solidify. This customer asked, at first for Mark, kind of done in a superhero style. I thought that was an awesome request, and asked him if he wanted to take it a little bit further and make it more of a comic book style. So that's kind of how we got here. You know, first he was just supposed to be a superhero. So, you know, we put a cape on him. He looks awesome. But I thought that, you know, if you're going to go for a superhero, why don't we, you know, kind of go the whole way and make it more of a comic book. So love the overall look. But yeah, so that's how we got the title. You know, over here, we've got the pricing info. So I kind of made up some stuff over here. I called it Rangers Comics. And I always notice that these areas up here have a little graphic in them. So, you know, Mark is a 6-time Stanley Cup winner. So I decided to put a Stanley Cup up here. And you can see I've got a little number 6 in there to show he's won the Cup 6 times. He actually won it 5 times with the Edmonton Oilers and 1 time here with the New York Rangers. And that win with the New York Rangers actually broke a 54-year Stanley Cup drought that the Rangers were in. So, you know, I remember Mark mostly as a Ranger, so that's how I decided to illustrate him. The client actually didn't, you know, have any specific mark that they wanted to do. So, you know, he's somebody that I know best as a Ranger, so I decided to illustrate him as a Ranger. And honestly, the colors of the Rangers uniform really work well with kind of the superhero look we were going for. You know, it's got the red, white, and blue. The red cape looks great on him. So it's kind of natural to just make him a Ranger in this card. But really just love it. I tried to draw Mark similar to the way I draw my other players, but I also tried to kind of give him more of a comic book look. So I hope that comes through, but I also hope that it still kind of, you know, resembles Mark. So, you know, that's a little bit of the walkthrough in our card front here. Flip this over really quick. And, you know, it's just my standard card back. I've got his career statistics because Mark is obviously a retired player. So he's got some amazing stats here. You know, he was one of the best players in the NHL when I was a kid watching. So, you know, just really fun to get to work on his card. And I mentioned it on the front, but I also wanted to put it on the back here as well, that he's a 6-time Stanley Cup winner. So tried to tie that all together. Pulled in a little bit of the color from the front to the little flourish here in the back. And really just love how clean this back came out. Back over to the front here for one more second. Yeah, just an overall great card. I think, you know, I think the last thing I'll mention is just the background. I thought kind of an icy blue, you know, treatment behind him would be a lot nicer than trying to draw him in a, you know, complicated type stadium setting. So I think that that really makes the blue of his uniform pop, and it gives the whole card kind of an icy feel to it, I think. So, you know, coloring on this one, super, super happy with. And just overall, just a really fun, really challenging card to get to work on. All right, guys, so that's a little bit of the story behind my brand new Mark Messier card. Done in the style of a comic book cover. This one was really outside of my wheelhouse, but man, did I have a fun time trying to put this one together. And it was just an awesome player to get to work on. So I really hope the customer for this one loves his Mark Messier card. It was such a great time working on this one. So thank you so, so very much. All right, guys, this is the part of the video where I tell you, you know, there's no card that we can't create. You know, right now we've got a whole new, you know, kind of card thing we can even move on with. So if you guys love comics and you love sports, you know, reach out. We can, you know, smash them together and we can make a comic book card, you know, similar to this one for you guys. So reach out with your questions, reach out with your requests. You can always reach me here on Instagram. You can send me a direct message, or you can head over to my website, mikeolsonart.com, and you can always reach me there. But either way, I'd love to talk to you guys about your ideas for 2026, because we're going to start making some brand new cards together. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.